Have you ever eaten so much where you felt physically ill? Or maybe you are hungry all the time and want to eat everything in sight? If you're confused about the differences between binge eating and extreme hunger, you are in luck. Today I'm going to be going over the differences to help clear up any confusion that you may have. Eating past fullness is not the best feeling, but before you go calling it a binge, there needs to be an understanding of what a true binge actually is. Many people seem to get it confused between binge eating and overeating, and the difference is that binge eating is eating a really large amount of food in a very short period of time, often when somebody feels out of control around food. I've had a lot of clients tell me that they feel like it's an out-of-body experience, they're not truly aware of what's going on, they feel like they just really cannot stop eating. Binges can look like grabbing a lot of things in your pantry all at once and wanting to eat all of them, eating out of the ice cream containers, eating like 3 pints of ice cream at once. That is considered a binge. Binges can be a direct response to a certain emotion, a feeling, or a situation. It can also be a response to restriction, whether it be mental or physical restriction. Another key thing about binges is that they usually happen in secrecy. A lot of people have a lot of guilt, anxiety, and shame around binge eating, and they don't like to do this around other people. Keep in mind that extreme hunger and binge eating can coexist together because extreme hunger can trigger a binge. But just because you have extreme hunger does not mean that you are binge eating. Now let's explain what extreme hunger is. Extreme hunger is really common for those who have a history of an eating disorder, restrictive eating, or chronic dieting. When you've been dieting for a long period of time, your body produces more ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. If your body is in a constant energy deficit, that sends a signal to your brain that food is scarce and it wants you to seek out more food. So you constantly have all these food thoughts, you feel hungry even after you've eaten a full-size meal, you feel like food is on your mind all the time, and you just want to eat. You can also experience extreme hunger if you go long periods of time without eating, like let's say you had breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning and you don't have lunch until 2 p.m. Well, you may start to feel extremely hungry before lunchtime, therefore you want to eat everything in sight. If you feel like you're never satisfied after meals, you're constantly thinking about food, you feel food obsessed, and you feel like you eat a meal and you're still hungry for more, then you're probably under eating. And your body is going to send you the signal that, hey, we need food and we need it fast. Now, keep in mind there is a difference between being physically full and not mentally or physically satisfied. We want to reach mental and physical satisfaction in order to prevent feeling hungry after meals. If you are in a place where you feel like you're not able to respond to your extreme hunger because you still have a lot of food fears, a lot of food rules, and you fear what's going to happen if you do listen to your extreme hunger, or maybe you're worried that the extreme hunger is going to turn into binge eating, I definitely recommend working with a dietitian such as myself to help you overcome that extreme hunger. And if you are struggling with binge eating, also I can help you with that as well, because overcoming binge eating is not just about eating the foods and stopping restriction, because that doesn't work for every single person. Some people stop restricting, but they still have binges because they didn't get to the root cause of why they were binging in the first place. Just a side note, I definitely did struggle with extreme hunger myself. I used to feel never satisfied after eating meals. I was constantly thinking about what I was going to eat for my next meal because I just felt like I had all of these cravings. So I definitely get it, and I know it can be very scary to actually listen to extreme hunger. But that's why it's so important to really face your fear foods, really overcome your food rules so you can make peace with food and overcome your extreme hunger. It took me so many years to develop a healthy relationship with food, but during that time and during the process of becoming a dietitian, I was able to understand what works and what doesn't work when it comes to ending the food obsession and overcoming that restrict and binge cycle. So I created a framework to help women get there faster without spending years of their life trying to figure it out on their own. If you do struggle with binge eating or extreme hunger, I personally would love to help you overcome that so you can rebuild body trust and no longer feel out of control with food. You'll be given all the tools, support, and accountability to help you repair your relationship with food so you can eat without worrying, without the stress, without the anxiety that you're gonna binge. I promise your body is not out to get you. It's not trying to work against you. It's really just trying to protect you, and your body wants you to properly nourish it. There's a lot of people that struggle to admit that they binge eat because they don't want to be judged, or they don't want to let people in on this deep, dark secret that they have. But I want you to know that your struggles are valid and you deserve to get help to improve your relationship with food. I also wanted to add to please make sure that you're getting your nutrition advice from a dietitian. I have been seeing so many false things on social media these days about how to overcome binge eating or how to overcome extreme hunger. Just eat all the foods. And the reality is that's not gonna work for every single person. What may work for you may not work for the next person. It's so important to get individualized help for overcoming binge eating, for overcoming restrictive eating. The value of working with somebody and actually speaking to them, to voice your opinion, to voice your emotions, that to me is the most foundational part of healing your relationship with food. I'm also sorry that the lighting has been changing so much. I have my window open and it's been driving me crazy. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions about this, please feel free to send me an email. Check out my website. It's all gonna be linked down below in the description box. And as always, please like this video and subscribe if you have not for more videos in the future. I had you ask some questions about extreme hunger and binge eating on my Instagram, so I'm gonna answer your questions right now. The first question is how to stop the binge and restrict cycle. Now, I don't know if you've seen my previous videos about binge eating, but my biggest advice to stopping the restrict and binge cycle is to stop any kind of restriction, whether it be physical restriction from food or a mental restriction. I go way more in depth on this topic in another video, so I'm gonna put that video right here and feel free to go check that out. What to do about feeling self-conscious eating in front of other people with extreme hunger. Now, if you are truly listening to your extreme hunger and you feel like you're eating a lot of food in front of other people, my biggest piece of advice for you to do mentally is to remind yourself that people aren't thinking about food in the way that you're thinking about food. So if you're sitting there and you're judging yourself for eating a lot of food in one sitting, just remind yourself that people probably aren't thinking of that judgment the way that you are about yourself. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about the spotlight effect, but this is actually something that's very common for people to experience when they are struggling with their relationship with food, feeling like everybody's thinking about them in the way that they are. But reality is, everybody has their own problems that they're going through, and so they're not thinking about you the way that you're thinking about you. Also, just keep in mind, it's not a bad thing to have an appetite and a good appetite. I think more people would rather see you eating than not eating anything at all. I don't binge or have extreme hunger. I lost my hunger cues. Can I ever get it back? Absolutely. I always encourage people to establish regular meal times and eating schedules just to get your body on a routine. If you're going long hours without eating, or if you are purposely under eating, then your hunger cues are going to be all out of whack. I would definitely start eating more and eating more on a regular basis. How do I get over emotional eating? Like, what do I replace it with? It fills a hole like nothing else. Many of my clients have been in that place where they feel like food is the only thing that really makes them feel better. But what actually happens is it never makes you feel truly better long term. It can actually make you feel worse, because now your relationship with food is solely tied to your emotions. And it actually never helps you address those emotions that need to be dealt with. What we need to do instead is develop healthy coping skills that are non-food related. It can also be really helpful to talk with a therapist and or a dietitian to help you work through those emotions and help you address your relationship with food. What do I do if I'm already full physically but I'm not satisfied? Well, we definitely need to make sure that you're getting satisfied after your meals, and this may mean that we need to start eating more. We need to start including more fats, more proteins, or more carbs. Whatever you feel like you may be lacking, we need to probably increase more of. Or it can mean that you're not eating the foods that you truly want to eat. So I see this a lot with new clients where they are coming from a past of restriction, a lot of food rules. They tend to gravitate towards their safe foods. I would definitely start there by making sure that your meals are well-rounded and that you're actually eating the foods that you truly are craving. I'm afraid of extreme hunger because I'm eating a lot more than usual and it's scary. I know it can be very scary to respond to extreme hunger, especially coming from a place of restriction and having a lot of food rules and food fears, but I can guarantee that your body wouldn't be extremely hungry if it didn't need to. All the foods that you're probably craving right now are the foods that you need to make peace with and that you should be giving yourself permission to eat. It may feel scary in the very beginning, but over time it does get easier and you start to realize that a lot of those foods don't need to be feared to begin with. Keep in mind that we live in a society that praises women for losing weight, for going on diets, for having all this willpower with food. It makes total sense why you would feel scared and nervous to respond to extreme hunger and eating a lot of your feared foods, because you've been told that that's a bad thing to do for a long time. But I'm here to remind you that it is not a bad thing to have hunger cues. It's not a bad thing to eat the things that you feel like are bad. Diet culture is the real enemy here. How do I curb my appetite? We don't do that here. We make sure that we're listening to our hunger and fullness cues, and I don't really have an answer for this because I don't encourage anybody to try to curb their appetite. If you have an appetite, it means that you need to be eating, and it needs to be eating the foods that you're craving. Is it normal to eat really sweet/dense foods with extreme hunger? I definitely would say it is more common to gravitate more towards those foods, because if those are things that you have been restricting, you're more than likely going to be craving them a lot more often. I know I definitely did when I had extreme hunger. I wanted all the things, and I really had a big sweet tooth. But this definitely goes away with time, but you have to make sure that you are challenging it and that you are responding accordingly to your extreme hunger. Again, I know this can be a very scary thing to do, and a lot of people kind of go halfway before they start restricting again because they get scared of the process. I would love to work with you if this sounds like you, to really give you that support and guidance to push through and to move forward so you can develop a healthier relationship with food for the long term. This isn't really related, but do you have any easy snack ideas that will help keep me full? Snacks are my favorite thing in the world. General rule of thumb though, when it comes to making snacks that are satisfying, I have a carb, a protein, and a fat present at my snacks, just as I would my meals. Like some toast with some peanut butter, yogurt with some granola, or sometimes I just want a cookie. Not every snack needs to leave you completely full and satisfied. If you know that it's gonna be a couple hours before your next meal and you want a snack that's actually satisfying and keeps you full, definitely make sure that it is higher in protein, has the carbs, and has the fats to keep you satisfied for a longer period of time. And it's okay sometimes if your snacks look like mini meals. There's no rule when it comes to that. Some of my favorites right now are avocado toast with some eggs on top. That's like my savory one. I also really like mixed nuts with some chocolate, so I get a little sweet, a little salty. And one of my favorite sweet snacks are like yogurt bowls with some fruit, some nut butter, and some granola. It's just perfect. I've struggled with anorexia and now experiencing extreme hunger. So scared that it's going to develop into a binge eating disorder. How can I avoid that while still listening to my hunger? This is definitely a question I would recommend speaking personally to a dietitian with, because I don't know who's going to be watching this video, and I don't want to give just like a blanket advice out there, because this is very personal, and some people don't develop binge eating after anorexia, and some people may develop binge eating after anorexia, and I can't be sure what right advice to give to you since I do not know your full history. But please don't underestimate the value of working with a dietitian, because they will set you up with a plan specific to you, and you will be able to talk through your emotions and your experiences with food with them. Is it true the more we give into cravings, the less they will be there? The more that you listen to your body, whatever craving you may be having, the less strong that craving is going to be there. If you constantly are avoiding your cravings, the more likely that you are going to have cravings that are left unsatisfied, and you're going to be thinking about food all the time. Let's say you want a donut and you've been thinking about it all week, but you've been telling yourself not to have it because you think it's bad. You try filling the cravings with other foods like fruit and this tiny little piece of chocolate, thinking that those things are going to help you curb your cravings. But what happens is, and I've had this happen with a lot of clients, is they end up just eating more filler foods without actually just eating the one food that could have made them satisfied. So sometimes you actually can end up eating more food to begin with because you're trying to avoid your craving so much. I definitely recommend, if you do have a craving, to be able to respond to it, to be able to eat the food and just move on. And that really is what food freedom is. I can't believe I'm actually in the place now where I don't get strong cravings. Even when I first started this YouTube channel, there were still periods where I had really strong cravings, even though I was listening to my body. Food has become less and less of a thought the more that I have been an intuitive eater and the more that I have given myself permission with food. And that's just a really great thing to say. I don't know, I just really love being able to say that and truthfully mean it. I just want that so badly for every single one of you. All right, those were all the questions I have for you guys today. I had some questions that were repeats, so I tried not to repeat any questions in there. Final thoughts as I part ways with you guys is that binge eating and extreme hunger are two things that are very serious, and they're also not things to be ashamed about. If you feel like you are really struggling with your relationship with food and you are struggling with these things, please reach out for help, whether it be me or somebody else. You deserve to get the help that you have always needed, no matter how bad you think that you're struggling. That's all for today, and I will see you guys soon.